Hey guys, and welcome back to another unfiltered board game review. This time, we're going to do a top 5. Today's top 5 is going to be the top 5 games you would purchase for a friend this year for maybe Christmas or a birthday. Christmas is coming, guys, so I just figured I'd make this list. These games are going to be more based on, like, you're not sure exactly what your friends are into. Maybe it's a new friend for board gaming, but you still want to give them something a little more interesting than Monopoly or chess or any of that kind of stuff. We want to give them something that's, in our community's realm of fun games that are different, unique. So, without much further ado, here we go. Alright guys, so the first game we have today on the chopping block is number 5 on our list, which is called Sushi Go. It's a small little card game that's mainly based on card drafting. What you get inside the game is just a bunch of cards with a bunch of little pieces of sushi. You got wasabi as well, and nigiri, and chopsticks, and basic sushi, machi roll, that kind of stuff. The game comes in a little tin. It's probably about, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 bucks at most. You can get it anywhere. You can get it at Target, I believe. The game's a very simple card drafting game based on the amount of players. You pass out a certain amount of cards to everybody. You draw one, you pass it along, draw one, pass it along. And as you're drawing these cards and placing them down on the table face up, you're trying to acquire sets. Sets of the cards to give you certain amounts of points. If you get 3 of these machi rolls, maybe you get 9 points. Or if you get a nigiri after you get a wasabi, wasabi will give you times 3 to the next nigiri. Or chopsticks lets you pick up 2 cards if you place the chopsticks down, you can pick up 2 cards from your hand after you've been passed them. So maybe you want 2 specific cards that you've been passed, but you can't have both. Well, now you can if you have chopsticks. The game itself, very quick, very easy to teach. I've taught everybody how to play the game. I've never had a complaint ever. No one has ever said this game is not a very good game. It's very simple, it works for everybody, and it's really quick and easy and fun. So that would be my number 5. Definitely be Sushi Go by Game Right. Alright guys, so next on the chopping block for number 4, we are going to have the Resistance. Now, the Resistance is basically kind of a bluffing / lying game. Now, I'd love to open the thing up, but mainly it's just got a bunch of cards and a couple little soft cardboard boards, and some tokens. And the idea is everybody gets to be their own specific faction. You have the resistance leaders and then the corporation, or however you want to look at it. And the corporation is trying to infiltrate the resistance's plans and screw them up by going on missions with the resistance players. And the basic idea of the game, without getting into too much detail, is after you have chosen your team as a leader, so if I was the leader, I would say I want you and you to go on the mission with me. Everybody else around the table would then decide if that's a good idea. If they decide it's a good idea, you would then proceed to the mission. When you proceed to the mission, that's when everybody that's on the mission will get a card, 2 cards, fail or success, and they can then choose fail or success. Now, if you're a good guy, you can only choose success, but if you're the bad guy, you can choose fail or success. And that's kind of where the game gets interesting, because you could be a bad guy. Maybe you want to tell the truth this one time to spread a little doubt that you're actually the bad guy. Or maybe you're going to be the bad guy and be overt about it, but so overt that it's probably not you. There's a ton of different ways you can spin it. And the bluffing in this game works really well. If the Resistance manages to complete 3 missions without a fail, they win. If the corporation, or whatever you want to call them, they were able to infiltrate the missions and fail 3 of them, they win. Now, there's a couple other things in the game. There's some cards you draw every turn, and there's some things you can do by looking at everybody's face-down cards, or a certain person's face-down cards, or having to vote first, or having to go on the mission with somebody else. And just some different variants of the game, which makes it pretty interesting. And there are about 2 or 3 expansions to the game, which even adds a little more pizzazz. Because in the Resistance universe, there's a lot of games. And whether you may or may not know that, I'm assuming most of you do, the base Resistance game is all you need to have a good time for a gift. Like this is going to outweigh a lot of other gift ideas, just because that's a lot of game in this little tiny box. But if you want to, you can include little expansions that will make it very similar to the game Resistance Avalon, or I believe there's another one that's very similar to something else, but it's a lot. It's a good game. You'll enjoy it definitely. That's Resistance from Indie Board and Cards. The game's like 5 to 10 players too, so as long as you got a group of 5 or more, it's a game you can pull out almost every time. Alright guys, number 3 now. Number 3 is a party game. It's called Wits and Wagers. Yes, it's a game I'm already giving away on my website. If you go there and you haven't done it already, go to the website, put in your information, whatever it asks you to do. There's a couple of tweets and stuff like that. You can get this game. Anyway, moving on. Wits and Wagers is a great family game. If you're buying this for somebody you know is going to play with a big family, this game is what's up. It's made by Dominic. I kid you not. Crapuchettes. Yeah, I can't pronounce it. I apologize, but yeah, it's a 5. You can play this game with as many players as you want, really. Basic idea of the game is it's kind of like a trivia game with a twist. You might not know all the answers, but if you don't know the answers, that's okay because you can bet on other people's answers. And it's one of those games where you can kind of set up and walk away and come back and play as you're going around. It works great at conventions. It works great at board game nights in a board game store or one of those Magic the Gathering mom and pop stores you see all over the place. It's a really fun, simple family game, and it's got that little trivia to it, which is not bad. It's not like Trivial Pursuit or something like that where it's just very, very dry and very boring. You're always like, well, maybe I don't know this answer, but Tim over here, he knows about sports, so I'm going to go with him because he's pretty smart. Or maybe Susan, she's good at figure skating people or whatever, right? And you can kind of just get an idea of what answers you can get right and how people are going to guess on yours, as well as who you think based on who you know in the room. So it kind of works to the advantage of the room to get to know everybody in a sense of what that person's knowledgeable about. The only thing that kind of does bog down is when you got somebody who doesn't know a lot of people, and so they're playing and they don't really know. Okay, I don't know the answer, and I don't know anybody in this room, so I can't tell if they know the answer. So you have to guess based on everybody else, which is kind of a guessing game in itself anyway. So it's not really that big of a deal, but it does kind of suck for those people that are not really in the group. You know what I mean? But anyway, Wits and Wagers by Dom here. Alright guys, next up on the chopping block is Machi Koro by IDW Games. It plays 2 to 4. This game is solid. This game is good. This is a great gift because I feel like most people are going to really enjoy this game. It's number 2 on my list for a reason. I feel like it's a game you can set up kind of like Sushi Go and play, but you get a little more from the game. You get a little more choice. Now, when you play this game, it's very simple. You roll a die, you buy a property if you have the money, and you roll a die, you collect, and then you buy property, and then you pass. So it comes with 2 little die, it's a 6-sided die, and you can use your own if you want. I do because the die in there are okay. There's a blue and a green one, I think. And so you have all these properties lying out, and when you roll the die, all your properties will say whether or not you make money on the die roll, which is kind of like Settlers of Catan, if you think about it. You've got your little houses, and you're like, oh, please roll a 6, 7, or a 9, and they roll the 6, and then you go, okay, I got the whatever, and now you can purchase a thing. It's the same similar concept. It's just you can buy every single turn. It's always fluidity going throughout the game, and yet it's a little bit of luck. You roll a 1 every time on your turn. You don't have any cards that have a 1 on it, so you're not going to get any points. Yeah, I'm sorry. That happens. Not often, and honestly, I hate to brag because I like the game. I'm not a huge fan of it. Well, I guess I am, but I'm not as big of a fan of this game as a lot of other games. This is a good gift game, but I win almost every time. I probably played this game like 10 times now, and I haven't lost yet. So there's got to be more than luck to it. It's based on the cards you pick and what other people roll and stuff. Because there are cards that you can steal money from another player, or You can choose who to steal money from based on what you roll or what they roll, or you can try and go for combinations. There's a great variety of cards in here. I'll go ahead and just show you really quick since I think we got a little bit of time here. Just so you can get an idea of what the cards look like and how they function a little bit. So here you go. These are the cards here, and you've got what you need to roll, what the card does, and what it costs. And that's pretty much what all of it is, other than basically you got 4 cards here that you need to buy in order to win the game. Once you can buy these cards, you turn them over to this side by spending the cost on the side of the card. You get the ability on the card, just like all the rest of them, and if you can unlock all 4, you win the game. Pretty simple, easy to explain. I would definitely check it out, especially if you don't have it, and I would definitely get it for somebody if they're newer to games. It's a good starter game. All right, guys. So this is my number 1, Evolution. Now, not just Evolution, but Evolution the beginning. Okay. I might be a little biased here due to the fact that I personally got this more recently, but when I started playing, I said, you know what? Wow, this game is very, very simple, but it's got a fun little edginess to it that I really like. You're basically creating new species every turn, and your objective is to make your species last as long as possible, if not throughout the game, while evolving them. The game basically just comes with a bunch of cards with a bunch of different traits. You've got a watering hole, which is where you put your food, and then you got a bunch of baggies where you hide your food. Okay, that's pretty much what the game's got. And while that doesn't seem like a huge amount, it's actually rather has a rather large variety to it. Okay, has a rather large. You understand what I mean. So maybe you want to make your animal and it's got a long neck with defensive horns, and it's also a carnivore. Or maybe you want to make it a non-carnivore, but it burrows and it's a nocturnal, and it's also a scavenger. Well, carnivores are going to get their food by eating other animals, and the little burrowing dudes, the little vegetarians here, they're going to get their food from the watering hole, and or when other animals die, just whatever the cards say. Now, on your turn, it's very simple. You basically put some food in the watering hole. You get a new species by placing a card out. You draw 3 cards, and then you use those cards. And after you do that, you then collect food. If your animals can't all eat, they die. And if they do all eat, you take all that food, or whatever food that you took, that you were able to eat, and you put it in your baggie, and then you pass your turn. Now, the game functions really well because everybody gets the same amount of cards, and it doesn't really matter as for what cards you draw. You're not going to be able to draw more cards ever. So, in theory, if no one ever ate anybody, and they always managed to eat from the pool with whatever the traits they use, then you would always get a 4-way tie. But because of that drawing variety, that whole chance almost as for what creatures you get, and the choices you make depending on who you eat or where you eat from or how you choose to eat, that usually determines how you win. Because at the end of the game, whoever has the most food and most cards on the ground, as well as in your hand, is the winner. All right. So maybe as a scavenger, I eat whenever anybody else whenever any animal kills another animal. Well, I can have all my animals do that with a bunch of defensive horns, and defensive horns make people not really want to attack you, because if they attack you, they lose one of their own species. So if they have 3 tigers and one of their tigers eats one of your wombats with spiky horns, well, then they lose a tiger. They get to eat, but they lose a tiger. So you gotta be careful with that, and you can kind of build a strategy around. Okay, I'll make all these people want to be predators, and they're always feeding on poor Timmy over here. I'm gonna be the dude that nobody attacks and always gets fed because they're eating. So that could be a strategy. Or maybe everybody here is not being very defensive, so I'm going to basically eat them all. That would work just fine as well. So there's a huge variety in the game. There's probably about 9 or 10 different cards, but it's enough. It really is. Especially when you make combinations of 3 for each of your species. So you could have one that's fat with a long neck that burrows. It doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes, I know, especially when they're flying and they're really fat. But it's an interesting concept nonetheless, and you can always evolve them to change them based on what's on the board. So if you see somebody that's trying to eat you on your next turn, you can go, well, never mind, now it's a burrower, so you can't get it because it's hiding underground. Add up all the points, and you eat them on up. At the very end of the game, basically, if you got the most, you win, obviously. So, North Star Games made this. It's 2 to 5 players. The game is really, really, really good. Now, I've heard about Evolution, the base game, and I don't know about it. I've never played it, so I can't give you an exact answer on it. I've heard that this game is a little lighter, and I would instantly imagine that to be true based on what's in this game compared to that game. This kind of gives you that same feel as Evolution, with a smaller time. Like, this game is quick, and the only downside I would say about it is when you're playing with a lot of players, you feel like once the game has gotten started, the good stuff, that's when the game's about to be over, which kind of sucks. It makes sense. I guess you could just keep playing, basically when the deck runs out, that's when the game's over. You could reshuffle it a couple times, I suppose, if you wanted to make it keep going. I think that's what I might do too. But as the game's rules stand, if you're playing with a lot of players, the cards go quickly, and yeah, the game ends faster than you want it to. But I think that's a sign of a good game. You want to keep playing, and you get to that heated moment. So yeah, it's good. It's good. These games are all pretty good. So if you're looking for a gift to give somebody, these games should all be easily available. And if they're not easily available in your local Target or whatever, you can pick them up online at Amazon, or an even better place is you can go to Kingslayer Comics. Now, Kingslayer Comics is a comic book store / Magic the Gathering mom and pop place like I was talking about, and they sell all of their games, all of their products at Amazon prices. So they'll even, and sometimes if you go to the store here in California, they might give you a little bonus deal of some a little something, which is really cool. So before I even buy anything on Amazon, I always go ahead and check out Kingslayer Comics, because I like to support local board game, the little comic book board game places around my area. But the problem is a lot of them around here are so damn expensive. They are so expensive. Like MSRP straight up. They can't give you a deal. They can't give you a deal. But this place does. This place does a great job, and I would really suggest you looking into them. KingslayerComics.com. Check them out on Twitter too, because I really, really support them. I'm not being sponsored in any way currently. Currently, I'm not being sponsored, but honestly, I suggest you check them out. Look at their prices. Honestly, they're comparable, and they always get new games. They've always got the newer games. It's very, very unoften where I'll try and order a game and they won't have it. And in fact, even when I go to the store and want to pick up a game like Captain Sonar over here, I wanted this game, and no other store in the area had it because it just came out not too long ago. And so when I wanted to get it, I called them up, and they said, okay, it'll be here in 2 days. And it was. And yeah, I got it at a good price. So check them out, all right? Now, other than checking them out, you should check me out.